I would first of all like to apologize for the delay in starting this webinar. Hello everyone, this is Akshay Agarwal from QA InfoTech, anchoring today's webinar and supporting the event logistically. On behalf of QA InfoTech, I would like to thank and welcome you all to this web event on harnessing artificial intelligence for automated accessibility testing. Accessibility is a very important UX design consideration in making an application truly inclusive. Today, there are several development frameworks that enable building accessible applications. However, gaps exist in end-to-end accessibility engineering, especially in leveraging the right tools and technologies in testing these implementations. Even the most sophisticated tools do not provide foolproof test coverage, necessitating a lot of human checks. While such checks bring in their own value add for areas that are difficult to automate, there is scope for smarter automation to arrive at a more balanced test strategy than what most of us adopt today. With this problem statement at hand, we at QInfotech have developed an artificial intelligence-based solution to solve one of the most effort-intensive activities in accessibility, which significantly limits automation coverage, the verification for all text. So please join Prashant Shukla, Director, Test Automation and Research Lab, and Jaspal Ramola, Senior Engineer, Test Automation QInfotech, as they take us through the solution to overcome this practical challenge and how such challenges can be mitigated with the use of available AI machine learning concepts. Also, please feel free to send your questions to us anytime during the web event using the Questions tab on GoToWebinar platform. At the end of this session, we will try to answer all the questions received during the web event. All participants are now on mute at this time to allow for the speaker to present. Over to Prashant now.
Thank you, Akshay. Thank you for the introduction. I would like to welcome everyone again and thank you very much for joining us for our webinar, this web event today. Today we are going to talk about the challenges with automating accessibility testing and how we are at QInfotech leveraging AI in overcoming these challenges. But before we dive deeper into this solution and its implementation and how it works, I would like us to go through the agenda, the roadmap of our web event today that lies ahead of us. During this webinar, we are going to talk about accessibility testing and accessibility of apps and have a quick look at our current state of how we implement, why we implement accessibility in our applications, and how we test and make sure that these applications are accessible. We are going to talk about existing test automation solutions that are available right now at our disposal to test accessibility of applications in an automatic manner. We are also going to take a look at the challenges and the gaps that these existing automation solutions have, and we are going to look how we are leveraging AI to make sure that these gaps are plugged, these loopholes in existing solutions are fixed through our solution. We are going to give you a demo of the solution. We are going to showcase how our solution works in practice. We are going to show you it using live production websites, that how we are using AI in order to test one of the biggest challenges with testing accessibility, that being verification of all text of images. And then we are going to look into the effectiveness of our solution and the next steps. Now, before we can talk about our solution, I wanted to make sure that we understand the impact of accessibility in our application. In words of Tim Berners-Lee, the inventor of World Wide Web, the real power of web lies in its outreach, its availability to everyone. And by that definition, access to everyone, regardless of their disability and their challenges, is an essential aspect to make web successful. And that's very true. there are a number of people who have disabilities which limits their ability to access applications on web. And it's our responsibility to make sure that everyone is able to our solutions, the ideas that we are trying to project through our applications, the services that we are trying to provide to our customers through our applications is accessible to everyone, regardless of the disability that they may have or not. Over the time period that we have worked with accessibility testing and test automation of accessibility, I have heard that many people say that it's a very small target group and the real impact is not there. But the fact is, this is the chart that you are looking at right now is research done by World Bank in 2008, and it shows us the population of people who have access to internet as against the population of people who have disabilities in US. Now, as you can see that China and USA were top on internet usage back then. But if you look at the orange bars, you would see that the people with hearing disability and people with visual disability are almost as big as Spain or internet usage in Canada. If you combine both of them, this population becomes bigger than the population of Germany. Now that means if your applications are not accessible, then you are losing out on reaching out to if you make your application accessible, it's almost like you have a whole demographic, a whole country of Germany available to access your application. There is a whole demographic available to access your application. And yeah, and and while this is a big number, and while this is of course about outreach and making your application accessible to everyone, making sure that everyone is able to get to your applications and able to access the services that you are using, this also has a big benefit in terms of finances of your applications. If you look at this research done by American Institute of Research in April 2018, it shows the disposable income in billions of people with disabilities. Now, if you combine the three biggest challenging disabilities for tech and information technology area, you would see that vision, hearing, and cognitive difficulties are biggest problems in making your IT solutions available to everyone. And when they are combined, and please mind that these numbers are just for the US. When these numbers combined, they come around to annually 200 billion disposable income. Globally, this number is bigger than $900 billion disposable income for people with disabilities who are there to access your application, use your application, but are not able to access them if your applications are not really accessible. So not only it makes the outreach, making your application accessible, not only it enhances the outreach of your application, it also helps you, it also makes a big contribution in your financials. This makes accessibility a very big requirement for your application. It becomes a very important design consideration when you are developing an application. And in order to make accessibility possible, there are multiple accessibility standards, like Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, or WCAG 2.0, which gives us 4 accessibility principles and guidelines based on these principles to implement to make your application accessible. and these principles are: your application content should be perceivable. That means that the person who is trying to access your application should understand what the application is trying to do, regardless of their disability. It should also be operable. That means that everyone should be able to interact with the components of your web application. It should be understandable. That means the way content is being presented to people with disability should be easily understandable and relatable to the people who are using it. And it should be robust. That implies that the behavior of your application should be consistent, should not change over repeated use. Similarly, there is Section 548 compliance, which does the Rehabilitation Act, which tells us that all the federal applications, all the federal electronic and information technology applications should be accessible to everyone, regardless of their disability. Now, this means that there are a lot of standards, there are a lot of guiding rules, and there are a lot of tools which tell you how to develop an application so that it's accessible to everyone. So developers have ARIA tags, they have tab indexes, they have all tags, and they have all the implementation tools and framework which help them in implementing accessible features in your application and making them accessible to everyone. But the real problem lies in testing those features. Once your developers, once your system engineers have developed the application so that it's accessible to everyone, you would want to test it and make sure that your application is truly accessible to everyone. Now, two of the four principles, robustness and operability, they are very easy to test using automation tools. The main challenge of testing accessibility lies in the fact that I call 3 C's of correctness of accessibility testing. These are making sure that the content is right, that the way that the accessible feature is presented to the people with disability is correct. The context is right? So even though sometimes the content could be right, but the content could be out of context when it's being presented to a person with disability. And there should be a clarity on how the content is being presented. Now, all three of these components of correctness of accessibility testing, they are related to perceivability, which is the biggest challenge when it comes to testing accessibility through automation. Now, for today's demo of our solution, we have taken a use case of alt text of images. As you all of us know, alt text is used in images on your application so that people with visual disability could understand what the image is about without the need to actually look at the image. Now, the problem with alt text, when we are testing the alt text of images manually, say for example at QA InfoTech, when we are testing alt text of the images, we are making sure that all texts are correct and relevant to the image. We have a team of people with visual disability that actually sit down and test your application as an end user. And with that, we have paired a person with no visual disability so that they can tell them about what the image actually is, what it looks like, what it should be for a person with no visual disability, and then they have to match it with what they see or what they hear through the alt text. Now that means that if you truly are trying to test alt text of an image, you have to do paired testing to make it thorough and robust. But when you are doing automation, what most of the tools do is that they just look at the image and make sure that there is some automation tool present. Let's see few automation tools available that are off the shelf right now. They are being industry de facto and are being used to test all text of images. Few of the most popular tools are Axe, Wave, and accessibility testing tool developed by Twitter, AATT. Now, what these tools do is they are very good at scanning the underlying code. They can go through your application code and make sure that all the development criteria for making your application accessible according to the WCAG guidelines are followed. They make sure that the alt text is present. They make sure the ARIA roles are defined. They make sure that there is tab index. What they cannot do is they cannot understand context and they cannot perceive the content. That means and because of this, they are only able to provide 20 to 50% of coverage. Now, when I say these tools are not able to understand the context, let me explain you how that works. If you are using Axe, what Axe does is it just makes sure that there is an alt text present with the application, right? It cannot ensure if that alt text is correct, and it cannot read the image to make sure that the alt text is relevant to the image that it substitutes. Right. Let's see how current automation tools work with the accessibility. Right. I'm going to transfer the control to Jaspal Ramola, our senior engineer, and he's going to show how current existing automation tools test for accessibility. Over to you, Jaspal.
Thanks, Prashant, and hello everyone. So this is the site that I'm trying to find accessibility issues on. This is just a simple Wikipedia page for the cars, and we'll use two tools, as Prashant has already explained about various tools. One of them is X and another one is Wave. So let's use Wave first. Let's use X first, and let's see what it finds and what it gives us. So X has various kinds. It comes in various forms. First one is command line. Second one is the extension that you can download on browsers. But this time I'm trying to use it from command line. So let's use it. So as Prashant has already explained, what X does is what these tools does. This tool does is it basically scans the underlying code, and it basically tells us whether the guidelines for those code or the HTML code has been followed or not. So here you can see it's scanning the code. And
so right now, Axe, it's a standalone tool that we have executed on this page. It's essentially a Wikipedia page of a car, and we are going to use this example multiple times in our webinar. So it's going through that page. It is going through the code of the page, making sure that all the accessibility features are available, and in a couple of minutes it would give us the result. Now, we have at QA InfoTech, we have been using Axe for a long time. We have also integrated it to our Selenium solutions, right? So we have the results there, just now.
Okay, so now we have the results. Then first one is violation of area allowed rule. So let's just focus on the image results that we have, the results that we have for images. And as you can see, we don't have any failures for alt text or any alt text related to any image. And it does say a link name with 25 occurrences, but this is not related to the alt text of the image. So this is the one. So let's go to the another tool that we are, and that is Wave. Also, Wave it can be downloaded as just the extension, and if I download that extension and I can run it from the by left click by right clicking on it and then just wave this page. It will scan the underlying code of this page and it will tell us all the violations of the code that is there in the HTML code of this page. So let's just wait for the results and we'll see what are the different violations that has been there that is there in this code of the car wiki page. So now we have the result. Let's look at that. Let's look at the result for this one. So as you can see, we have the image and we are getting. So just for the for the information, the yellow ones are the alerts and the red ones are the errors. So we have found this alert over here and it says, if I click on this, it says alternative text is likely insufficient to contain and contains extraneous information. This is just a static check. It is showing because of the star that is there in the alt text, and this is very generic check that will also give you the alert on those alt texts which are actually correct. So in this case, this alert is, you will find these alerts in every image, whether it has the correct alt text or the wrong alt text. So as you can see with the X as well as with the wave, we are not able to find the context between the image and the alt text. And if we have an image where the given alt text is not correct as per the image, these two will either give you a generic alert or it will just pass that test case. Now from here I'll transfer control to Prashant. Just over to you, Prashant.
Thank you, Jasper. So let me show you why we expected an error in this page. Now, as you can see, this is a normal Wikipedia page of a car, and there is an image of a lot of cars in the on a road, right? But if you look at the alt text of this image, if you look at the alt text of the image, you will see that the alt text says gridlock, right? 401 gridlock.jpg. Right? Now, this doesn't make, while this alt text is correct in terms of the image, it doesn't make any sense from the context of the article, right? Now, that is one of the biggest problem with the existing automation tools, that while they can understand that if an alt text is present or not, they cannot understand the context. So if this image is used in context of car, the expected alt text should be car or cars on a road, right? Any permutation and combination of that intent. Similarly, if this same image is used in context of traffic, then the alt text gridlock would make more sense. But unfortunately, existing automation tools are not intelligent enough to understand the difference between having alt text and having relevancy of the alt text, having they do not check the WCAG principle of perceivability and understandability. If we go back to the command prompt, the output from the Axe tool, you would see at the bottom it says that only 20 to 50% of all accessibility issues can be automatically detected. And it is because of the same reason that the existing automation tools are not able to understand the requirement of accessibility. They just understand the implementation. Now, 80 to 50% automation is a huge, huge gap. That essentially means that 50 to 80% of your application has not been tested by these automation tools. Now, if there is a chance of 80% not tested through automation, that is a big, big gap. That essentially means that existing automation tools are practically not able to check the accessibility in a way that you can rely on them. And what mostly happens is that if you see a 20% acceptance rate, you end up retesting it manually again. That instead of reducing the effort, ironically, that these automation tools increase the effort of testing. And the reason for this is, as I said, is that they can only check the presence and absence of objects, presence of or absence of the features in testing, right? The second reason is, in this particular case of alt text, they are not able to decipher the content of the images. Most of the existing automation tools, they cannot understand, they cannot differentiate between an image of a car and image of something else, like, say, for example, road or a tree, for instance. They cannot see inside non-textual components. That means audio, video, or images. Plus, the existing automation tools, they do not take context into account. They are not intelligent enough to understand if the code that has been used for implementing it to make your application accessible is relevant or not. And now that was the keyword that we picked. We needed a tool which was intelligent. And that's where artificial intelligence came into picture. What we did was we used two of the biggest AI functionalities available, and we incorporated in our solution. One of them is, of course, image recognition, which can identify the content of the image, which can look into the image and figure out if there is a car or a person, which can also understand the text inside the image, and accordingly give you an output telling you the content that is being displayed inside the image. And for this, we have used image AI and web results, web search APIs to understand what the image exactly is. The second thing, which is very important, is understanding the context, right? So if there is an image of a car and it has an alt text that this is a car, that would be a correct alt text. But if it has an alt text which says this is not a car, that would be a wrong alt text. And you needed to understand that difference. You needed your system to process the language in which the alt text has been given. So for that, we integrated the natural language processing in our solution, which essentially understand how the sentences are constructed. So if the alt text is, it is a car, and that is a car, both should be correct, and it is not a car, that should fail. Right. So we developed our solution using these two capabilities of AI, and we have created the solution. And let's see the demo using the same. Let me host it. So I'm right now launching my solution. Once the server is up, we would show you how the same page, which in case of Wave gave you a generic alert, and in case of X did not at all find the defect in which the grid log was not the correct alt text. Right. All right. This is a very generic test harness that I have created for showcasing our solution. And let's put car in the Wikipedia URL that we are trying to test. Let's test the alt text relevancy. Now, what this solution does is it launches the page, and then it, as you can see, it goes ahead and processes the images that it has captured. It will take a couple of seconds before it could process all the images, read the content of the images, and there you go. So as you can see, this is the result page. Now the first image was, of course, the car on that page, which has an alt text 401 grid lock, and our solution says that it has failed. If you look at the recommendation, our solution also gives you the recommendation of what should have been the correct alt text. It could have been car. It gives you the probability of the correctness of the solution. Apart from checking the actual alt text, our solution also looks around for the context. Say, for example, image caption. So if you look at the last image, this image is on this page. This image is of car Benz, right? Our system is able to tell you that although the alt text was not present, the image caption had the information which was relevant. And if you look at the result, we'll see the first result is actually car Benz. So that's how our application is able to access the images, understand what the image is trying to say, understand what the alt text is trying to say, and provide us not only the result if the test has passed or failed, but also the recommendation for implementing the solution. Right. Now we have used this solution as integrated. Right, we can use the solution as a standalone solution, as well as we have integrated the solution with our existing Selenium frameworks. Now the plan, we are planning it to provide this solution as a service, as a SaaS software as a service to everyone, so that they can leverage it. But for last 1 month, we have been doing dry runs and experimentation with this solution. And in those experimentation, the results that we have seen is that this particular solution using AI, leveraging AI to test your automation, automatically test your accessibility solutions, gives you an 80% effort reduction. Over past 1 month, we tried it on various applications which we are already testing for accessibility manually, and we have seen that we were able to do 100% effect reproduction. That also implies that in case of regression, we would be able to use the solution with full confidence. However, because we are using AI and we are still training our models, there have been incidents of less than 10% false negatives in cases where we did not have the cases where it should have passed. In less than 10% of cases, it has shown us as failed or has raised a warning alarm, so that we have to look into it again. But those cases are less than 10%, and as we are training our model, it's getting more and more effective. So challenges, if we look at the challenges of the solution, is one of the biggest challenges. AI by nature is probabilistic. That means AI can tell you what the answer is, but it takes a little bit of time and a lot of training before it could get more and more accurate. The second challenge right now with our solution is that it works well with simple and static images. That means it could pick any image, it could, the AI image AI can go through it and understand what the image is. But if there are interactive images, it's not ready to test those as yet. And we still have to train our models so that we are able to test more and more images with more accuracy. That's all that we wanted to show you. That's all we wanted to tell you how we are using AI, how AI is helping us at QA InfoTech in testing accessibility of applications in an automatic manner and trying to fill in the gaps of existing tools.
Thank you, Prashant and Jaspal. I believe this was very informative and must have given some food for thought to our audience. We'll now start with the Q&A phase to answer the questions received from our audience. The first question goes, is this solution scripting language or framework dependent, or could it be used with any existing automation tool?
Yeah, that's a good question, Akshay. Well, we have implemented our solution using Python and Spacey libraries and image AI. But if we use a standalone approach, we might want to use Python as the scripting code. However, because we are planning to publish this solution as a software as service, you should be able to use with any existing automation tool or any existing language or automation framework, as long as you are able to extract image and alt text using your automation scripts.
Thank you for that answer, Prashant. The next question is, can we use this approach to test the accessibility on mobile apps also?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. The way we have integrated Selenium, you did see how Selenium is launching the application and interacting with the page. Similarly, this service can be used with Appium also. You can integrate your Appium test, and with few lines of code, you will be able to use it as to test the accessibility of the images.
Thank you. The next question is, can you test alt text in Word docs, spreadsheets, or other places, or only on websites?
Right now, the solution is only applicable on websites and few desktop and mobile applications. We can use it for Word, for Google Docs and Google Spreadsheets, which are again hosted on web. But here's the thing, as long as you are able to automate the Word docs or spreadsheets, you can leverage this service to test them. But right now we have only tested it with mobile apps and web apps.
The next question is, does this solution only accept URLs, or can we also import actual HTML pages for checking?
You can import actual HTML pages. You can also integrate it with your Selenium test, or if you are using Protractor or whatever test to automate your application, you can integrate with that also and use the service.
Okay, the last question is, what is the cost for using this service?
Right now, the service is being developed as is in testing phase. We are currently training our models, so we haven't published it for public use. But you can always use this service if you are using if you are already using our automation. If you are using our team, if you are using QA InfoTech for your test automation solutions, we would be pleased to help you. We will be more than happy to help you with using this solution free of cost.
That's great. Thank you, Prashant, for such detailed and insightful answers. With this, we have come to the end of the webinar. Thank you, everyone, for joining us in this web event and spending your valuable time with us. We believe this would definitely help us bring a real smarter approach to accessibility testing with the power of artificial intelligence. Please note that if there are still any questions you would like to discuss, feel free to write back to us and we will get back to you at the earliest. You will soon receive a short survey about today's web event, and we would really appreciate if you could please take a few minutes to provide your valuable feedback. You may log off at this time. Thank you for joining. Have a nice day.
Thank you.